Many of us were told to go to school, get a job, buy a house, work for 30 years, 40 years, whatever it is, and then retire and be happy. That was the American dream. But today, for many, many people, that dream is looking more like a fantasy than reality. But here's a question. If that dream doesn't work, then what? Home ownership seems to be slipping away. Here's some stats, and I've got my notes right here. The median house price in the United States is $420,800. So it's almost $421,000. And that comes from the US Census data, and I'm walking too fast again. So I'm going to try and slow down. But that comes from last year, 2024 Q1 US Census data on median house price. Now, I'm here in Michigan, and the research that I've done, according to Redfin, the median house price is just under $300,000, $299 something. There's other stats that have it a little bit lower, but it looks like it's just about $300,000 here in Michigan. But on a national average, it's 420 some thousand. And that's crazy. That's just crazy. The average, and I looked this up, the average 30-year mortgage rate, 1.25. Wow. The median house now costs 6.5 times the average income in the United States. Historically, it was 2.5, maybe 3 times the income. It's crazy. The American dream, I think it's a little bit out of whack. Even dual household incomes can't really live comfortably, affordably. But are we living beneath our means? Probably not. We're probably living above our means. To afford that $420,000 house, you'll need an income, depending on where you live, what your credit rating is, you'll need between $100,000 and $120,000 salary per year. So you got to make 120 grand every year to qualify. Plus, you're going to have to put 20% down. And I know people will argue you can get away with less than 20%. Yeah, but you're going to pay PMI. You're going to pay higher mortgage payments. Your credit worthiness is not going to be there. So you're going to have a problem. So in a lot of cities, people are putting down $90,000 to afford a home. And for that $420,000 house, you're going to have to put just over $80,000 down. Your interest rate, let's just say 7%. Your total payments are going to be close to $1 million. By the time you pay that house off in 30 years, your house will cost you about $940,000. It's crazy. And renting is unaffordable nowadays. In vacancy rates. So a lot of places are full up. I'm just walking a neighborhood I've never been to before. Kind of neat. Still got the same Michigan problems where the sidewalks are not the safest, but I'm trying to be careful. If I fall, I'll keep it on camera, maybe. Depends how bad I fall. I think I'm at a dead end. Yeah, I'm gonna have to turn around. There's a lot of activity down here. But to afford that $420,000 house, you're going to have to put over $80,000 down in a down payment. Your payments are going to be ridiculous. And renting, vacancy rates are really low. It's hard to get a place nowadays. And I didn't realize this, but I did some homework on this. So the average monthly rent in the United States, do you know what that is? The average monthly rate in the United States is $1,625. $1,625 for a place to rent. Now, it depends on where you live. Depends if you want a nice place, not so nice place. And I looked in Michigan, and the average rent in Michigan is $1,300 and something. So it's a little bit less than that, like everywhere else. But you're going to have to, how much do you have to make to afford a $1,600 rent every month? And that's just your rent. Doesn't include car payments, bills, food, and everything else that you need to live and survive. Hopefully I can get out going this way. But really, it's crazy. So what is happening? People are not living beneath their means. People can't really afford to get by. So what's happening, as I've said in another video, the debt, household debt, is really stacking up. And here I've got some stats. Household debt hit over $18 trillion for Q1 2025. $18 trillion in household debt. Credit card delinquencies, as I mentioned in another video, are at the highest rate since 2011. Since 2011. And as I've also mentioned, that Capital One credit card delinquencies are at an all-time high. 4.7 million people are delinquent on their Capital One credit card. And you see all these cars, I'm passing cars here, cars and trucks. Auto loan delinquencies hit a 10-year record high. People can't afford those trucks, those cars. The price of cars is ridiculous. I'm gonna cross the street because looks like there's stuff here. So they can't afford the rent. They can't afford to put $80,000, $90,000 down on a home. So they're putting it on credit card. And as I mentioned, the delinquency on credit card is ridiculous, and it keeps growing every month. And we'll do more videos on this and look at the trends and what's happening. People are not just borrowing to build wealth. They're just borrowing to get by, to pay groceries, to pay their bills. Yeah, people are probably living above their means, and that's not something in the United States that we're used to. Living beneath our means. We're used to borrowing, we're used to credit, we're used to being in debt. We're used to the banks being in control of us. That's a whole nother subject. But retirement is really a mirage. It's not often reality for many. 45% of Americans have saved $0 to under $20,000 for their entire retirement. And that comes from Northwestern Mutual, the financial service company. As of the end of 2024, most retirees have the maximum savings of $20,000. Most have maybe a couple $1,000s. It's just, where are we going? What's going on? And statistically, only less than 10% of the people that a recent poll had said that less than 10% feel confident that they'll retire comfortably. The fact is, most people expect to work well into their retirement. A lot of companies are hiring retirees. But who wants to work when you're 70, 80? Like, who wants to do that kind of labor? I'm old enough, and I can feel it just when I walk, let alone doing manual labor. And who wants to work for somebody else when you're in retirement? I don't know. So the dream of work hard, retire early has kind of flipped. Most people are working longer, working harder, and retirement is a maybe. It's not a given. The dream, is the dream still here? The American dream, is that still here? Even high income earners are running short on savings. They've spent more on necessities, more on cars. And we can talk about cars in another video. The car industry has taken advantage of people. A lot of industries have taken advantage of people. It's just sad. Good jobs just aren't enough anymore. Layoffs continue. And I know people have debated with me in the comments, and I can do another one on layoffs and that they're not happening. People, pay attention. They're happening. What about work from home? What about remote work? What about go back to the office? That's a form of layoff. That's how to get rid of people, not hire more people. That's how do you get rid of people. Anyway, there's a lot of stats I could go into. We'll dig deep into that in another topic, but layoffs continue. But look at earnings for most companies. Earnings are growing. And I'm walking too fast again. Earnings aren't shrinking for most companies. Earnings are growing, and sometimes by the billions, but they're still laying off. They're still cutting people. They're using these times as an excuse to let people go, to make more money. Remember, people are a liability for a company. Unless you're creating direct revenue, and a lot of it, there's always a way to replace you. AI, there's a lot of avenues to get rid of people. But, broaden yourself, learn more skills, pay attention to what's going on. You want to be a valuable asset for a company, not a liability. And really, being in the people business forever, you're a liability. You are typically a liability for an organization. So real wage growth has been flat or negative after inflation. It's not grown. People aren't making more money because of inflation. Salaries have gone down, become stagnant. Bonuses have been eliminated, cut. It's a crazy time. 61%. So Lending Club at the end of 2024 did a study, and 61% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Imagine if they lose their job. What happens? Job security doesn't exist the way it used to be. People don't go to work for a company and retire after 30 years. It just doesn't happen anymore. Things change rapidly. Raises don't keep up. Promotions are rare. The corporate ladder, this is nice. The corporate ladder is broken. There's no more corporate ladder for you and me. So what now? I'm going to pause for a second. There's nowhere to sit down. Well, there is a rock. I don't know if I want to sit on a rock. But so what do you do now? And I'm not saying give up. I'm not saying, be doom and gloom. Be advised, be aware. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared, but be aware. It's time to really redefine what the dream is. Maybe it's a new path, multiple income streams, owning a business, starting a business. And I'll do another video on it's not too late, but there's a lot of ways that you, with AI, with technology, with services, look at the plumbing, the trades industry. Fewer people are going into the trades industry. The demand is there. The demand is high for trades. People are getting into it. The prices are going up. You could be a trade, and I'm not saying kill yourself. I'm not saying you have to dig ditches, but be a tradesman. Go into the trades. Work part-time. Start a business. Real estate. Flipping houses. Content creation. There's a lot of ways, and I put in the comments other ways and suggestions on, diversifying, other income streams. How do you make money? As a matter of fact, eBay. I've had eBay for I've had eBay for, I don't know how many years, feels like 20 years. And I run eBay. I love picking up things. I like searching for odds and ends and unique pieces. And before this, before eBay, I used to just collect it in my basement or my garage. Now I have an outlet. I can collect these with the purpose of selling. And eBay's got its own drama to it, but we can go into that later. You can also live smaller, live beneath your means, live smarter. And remember, if you're in control of your finances, you're going to have more freedom. You're going to be more comfortable. You're going to be more confident in what you do. And we'll never keep up with the Joneses. You'll never keep up with the neighbors. Neighbors are always trying to outpace themselves. It's, for whatever reason, the American way. We're selfish. We want to look better than them. But who cares? Really, the old dream was kind of linear. It was, it was a race really most people could not win. I couldn't win it. The new version of the American dream is more diversified. It's more agile. It's more personal. The American dream may not be dead, but it's changed. The question is, can we build something better and more real? Drop your version of the American dream in the comments. You can do this. You got this. What does freedom look like for you? And what other videos would you like me to post? Thanks for watching.